The kids are the most impressionable right now. They have their friends that are in their ear, and they have burnt out, worn out teachers a lot of times in their ear. And a lot of it is negativity. But what I think it boils down to is we as parents get to do more and do better at home about teaching, supporting, and helping educate them on certain things and not just leaving it up to the school system and the teachers to do all the work.
I think we forget at the end of the day, teachers are humans.
Yes.
And teachers have lives, and
Yes.
teachers have
problems.
They have dying parents and sick children and
All the
divorces
things.
and all the things that anyone else does.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes they don't handle things well. And I think it's so funny when we don't expect perfection out of ourselves, why we expect it because they got a teaching degree. What would you say to them from a parent's perspective?
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Hi, everybody. Kathy Tooley. Thanks for joining us on our podcast where we're doing a series called The Ripple Effect of a Teacher. I have with me the one, the only, the Amber Fields. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, Amber and I have a long history. Mm-hmm. How long of a history do we have, Amber?
Well, considering my 44th birthday is next Thursday.
And when did I?
This Thursday.
That's right. And when did I know you?
But when I was in utero.
That's right.
You knew my
utero.
mama. Mm-hmm.
So her mother and I went to high school together. I mean, you talk about a history. And then she went on. Ironically, you have this, especially when you were teaching as long as I had. I would have students come back and say to me, my mom had you when I was a teacher. And I always said that I was going to get out before somebody said my grandma had you. If somebody said my grandma had you, I got out. But Amber comes walking into my classroom one day and said, my mom, you knew my mom, which again, I'd heard that before. And when I asked her who her mom was and she told me, immediately I knew the name. She was one of my very dear friends, lived right behind me growing up. Let's just say her mom and I had some adventures. Mm-hmm. We had some adventures growing up on a farm and a farm life and cows and corn, and there might have been some tipping and cow and those kind of things. But I remember standing there and thinking, you are that baby she was pregnant with. Yeah. Because you were a freshman at that time, right?
Yeah.
A freshman at that time. And so, it's, how life immediately kind of goes, shoo! Because all of the years that had happened for her, from birth to freshman, became irrelevant to me. Yeah. And then, of course, we'll talk about this a little bit more on this episode is, we spent the next 4 years together where I got to watch a knocky-kneed, somewhat awkward,
for sure.
Could be occasionally a little bit of a mean girl.
For sure.
A little bit of a mean girl flourish and grow into just a beautiful woman that even as I remember watching her, she probably doesn't know this story, but I probably haven't shared it with her, but the day before she was graduating, seniors get their caps and gowns, And I remember her bringing her cap and gown into me, and she'd been my student assistant for all 4 years or at least 3?
At least 3.
Yeah. So student assistant, she spent her study hall with me. I think I had a class most of the time, or even one year I remember particularly I had my prep period.
Yeah.
And so to take on a student assistant during your prep period is something a teacher just doesn't do. But I did Amber.
Yeah.
Because Amber would let me get work done if I needed to, but she comes walking in with her cap. I think it was your senior year that I had you as during my prep. So we spent lots of conversations, and she's so proud. She's so proud. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there thinking, don't cry. Mm-hmm. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. That's like weird. If you cry, that's weird. Like, you knew when she started as a freshman, she would leave here as a senior. But I remember thinking, I won't ever find another Amber Fields. Aww. Ever.
Except you found me again.
Right. And I'm trying to think, from when you left, I continued teaching another, 10? I finally left in...
Oh, we'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
I graduated in 99.
So I continued teaching in 2004.
Okay.
Before I became an administrator. Yep. So I left the building in 2014.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. I've never said this to Amber. There was never another Amber Fields.
Aww.
There were lots of good student assistants. But there was another Amber Fields. So, okay, we have cried more on this. I'm not having you back ever again.
Okay, fine.
what we are going to talk about in this episode a little bit is, now I lost it.
So the impact of so I have 5 kids, and just seeing the difference from a teacher, from a parent's perspective to a teacher, and the impact that they're making on our kids, and just the difference. I have 5 kids, and I have raising these 2 twin 14-year-olds is even very different from the next one who's almost 21. And with the advancement of technology and the ability for them to access anything and everything immediately.
Before you have a time to realize they've accessed it.
Right. Yeah. You've opened up Pandora's box and you can't put it back. And so the thing that I think is, one, I just have so much compassion for teachers right now because it's hard. One, I think your classes are fuller than they've ever been.
For sure. Well, there's less of us.
And there's less teachers because people are leaving. And you are trying to, we talked about in a previous episode that words matter, and you want to make an impact, and you want your students to know that you care. Mm-hmm. But you are also stretched incredibly thin because you have all this work to do, and you're trying to cater to these students and all of their learning individually and all of their needs to learn. And here's what, and I think that we have to bring up the fact that during COVID, they lost a couple years.
Thanks for being a part of the Tools for Success podcast. At Tools for Success, we believe every student deserves a classroom where learning thrives. That's why we partner with schools to equip teachers and administrators with practical, research-based professional development that makes a real difference. From mastering classroom management to building data-driven strategies, our programs empower educators with tools and confidence to transform challenges into success. The result? Engaged teachers, supported leaders, and students who are prepared for the future. It starts with one conversation. So let's chat. Go to toolsforsuccessindy.com and click on Schedule Conversation, and let's see what we can do to help your students thrive. Now, back to our podcast.
Friends of mine ask me all the time, when do you think we'll stop seeing the effects of COVID? And I said, when that class graduates.
Right.
When the class that
entered kindergarten
in 2020.
Yeah.
So 2032, folks, that's when we'll stop seeing the impacts of COVID.
Yeah. And the kids are the most impressionable right now. The kids are coming home and saying things because listen, they have their friends that are in their ear, and they have burnt out, worn out teachers a lot of times in their ear, and a lot of it is negativity. They're hearing a lot of negative things. So when a teacher pours into a child and says something like, today, when I was speaking to my twins teacher, and he said, your kids are very bright. They are very smart. It's whether or not they're willing to apply themselves. Oof. Right. And he's not wrong, right? But what I think it boils down to is we as parents get to do more and do better at home about teaching, supporting, and helping educate them on certain things and not just leaving it up to the school system and the teachers to do all the work.
Yeah, I think there has been a crossover that has happened at some point. And I don't know where. I don't have a definitive year to tell you where it was. But there's a cartoon out there now that shows years ago a student sitting with their parents because the teacher wants to talk to them, and the parents are very much disciplining the child. And then fast forward to today's culture, and the parents are disciplining the teacher.
Yes.
I don't know where that shift happened, but it did, and it is.
It hasn't been that long ago.
It hasn't.
No.
And I wonder from a parent's perspective how you balance that, because I know you hear things that from a parent that you hear and you think, ooh, I don't like that was said, or as well as the good. How do you sift through the mouth of a 14-year-old, which may or may not be completely honest to the whole situation? Not that your children would ever lie. Mine certainly didn't. My children never would have lied. But how do you sift through that to help every opportunity be a learning opportunity? Because I believe it is. Good and bad, every opportunity is a learning opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I listen neutrally. I listen to them say what they need to say, express their emotion about how they feel about the situation, and then I go to what you and I know source. I go back to that teacher. And the other thing I will say, Kathy, is I have given my kids the space to, okay, do you want me to fix this? Or do you want...
and there it is, it lies.
Or do you want, or can you handle this? And I will tell you that my daughter will say, I got this. And my son will be like, you need to call, difference between boys and girls. But when I know it's time to step in is when the story has become consistent dinner talk. Like,
Toxic.
It's
toxic.
It's toxic. Now they're starting to self-identify with the words that the teachers or friends are saying, because this happens with friends also. And so you call the teacher and you just meet them with care and compassion also and say, tell me what happened. Tell me about what the experience is of my kids in class. Are they participating? Are they doing their work? Are they asking questions? Do they need help? You tell me from your perspective what's happening. And therein in the middle is the truth.
That's right. And I think that's the biggest point that I think is missing. Any human, when they feel attacked, will immediately become defensive.
That's right.
And when as a parent immediately assumes that everything that a child is saying is true, you're daring a teacher to be anything but defensive.
That's right.
I was very blessed too that I had a lot of good parent phone calls. And, I raised 3 kids of my own who, shocking as it is, didn't always do what they were expected to do in school. I think I had a benefit. I said this in an earlier podcast, being a teacher, calling a teacher.
Yeah.
It's almost like we speak the same language.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, I was many things, and assuming my child was perfect was not one of them.
Yeah.
And I think there is a blurred line with schools anymore that it's your job to be their advocate and their friend. No, it's your job to understand.
Yeah.
And that when I am a teacher educating 25 students, your son or daughter is the most important thing in your life.
Yeah.
But all 25 sets of parents expect that I'm educating all of them.
Yeah.
And the fact that your child wanted to cause disruption, that I had to have him leave or refuse to do the work that I couldn't have him participate in, or et cetera, et cetera. I can remember sitting at our kitchen tables and saying this, because they'll tell you a story. This happened at school today. And I would say, let me make sure I understand this. So Miss So-and-so, insert teacher's name, spun the wheel today and said, yep, that's the kid I'm picking on, and it was you. Remember, you're talking to a mom, your mother, who lives every day there. And look around the house, I don't have one of those wheels. So what makes you think Miss So-and-so does?
Right. Yeah. But I also think the kids have to, what I tell my kids is, you have to meet people with compassion and understanding also. And I know that's really hard at your age because you don't get it. But these teachers have a lot of pressure on them from the I learns. And, oh, by the way, we have to take this standardized test. But, oh, by the way, I have all this other stuff I'm supposed to be teaching you also. And
I have to deal with the students who don't have a home life. And I have to deal with the student who hasn't been here for 2 weeks.
Right.
And I have to deal with the fact that I haven't had a pay raise for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I have to deal with,
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse. It's just an understanding that there's a lot more to teaching.
Yeah. And I will say, I know this intimately because I sit on the school board for the Daymar Charter Academy. So these are kids with developmental disabilities.
Severe.
And trying to so I just have a different context when I look, and I've taken my kids to the school and have them see how different their life is compared to what some of the other kids have.
That's right.
In their life. I'm also up on the board for Providence Cristo Rey High School, where they're helping kids who would never, because of the zip code that they live in.
That's right. That's it. Just because of their zip code.
They're never going to have the opportunity to go to college or go do a trade or have any understanding of what other job opportunities could be for them. Right? So education is really important in our house. And I want my kids to know that they get to meet their teachers with a lot of compassion and understanding too, because.
So speak to that parent, because you had it happen.
Yeah.
Where you're sitting there at that dinner table and you're hearing a story where your hair is curling. And you're thinking, I'm going to not react. Talk to that parent.
Yes. So listen carefully and take all the facts back that you're hearing, but you call them.
Even if you have to jot them down.
Even if you have to jot them down, because listen, kids are kids, and they're explaining the situation to the level of their understanding.
And from their
purview.
point.
Yeah, yeah. And so, listen, and they also have other kids speaking into what is happening in that same classroom also.
And the teacher
Yeah.
has a history, good, bad, right, or wrong,
Yeah.
that is being spoken into
Yeah.
by other kids and by other people, right?
Yeah. But take ownership of what's happening in your kids' situation and go deal with it and take ownership if your kid did the right thing or not. you got to take ownership of it and not expect the teacher to have to be the one, you got to discipline the kid. Like I told the teacher, I told my son's teacher today, I said, because he was talking about using a calculator. And I said, Ethan doesn't have a calculator because Ethan doesn't have a phone. Because Ethan has made some poor decisions over the last couple of months. And so he doesn't get to have a phone. And I said, so do you give him the tools to be able to do his work in the classroom if they don't have a phone? And he said, I can't believe that you disciplined your child enough that you took his phone away. And I said, do you talk to parents?
Do you want me to speak slower for you? Because
Like,
I did.
What else would you do? Like, the phone is their everything.
That's right.
And so anyways, he was very surprised that we took discipline so seriously, because he said, I talked to a lot of parents where this is their fault, not mine. Or like
Right.
the
As a
teacher's
teacher,
fault.
it's my fault.
Yes,
Right.
not the kids' fault. And I'm
Right.
like, oh no, we get to have conversations about everybody's piece in this and what could be happening, what should be happening, and where we go from here.
Thanks for listening to Tools for Success podcast. What if 1 minute could change your day? A Gentle Walk, the new faith-based journal by our founder, Kathy Tooley, offers one prompt, one prayer, one small step closer to God. Start your Gentle Walk today. Learn more and get your copy by visiting Warren Publishing in the link below. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, I think, because I've lived in education forever, I get phone calls from friends all the time when they've got their child, their grandchild in trouble. And I always listen to their stories about, well, this teacher did this and this teacher did that and this teacher did this. And I always ask this question and it stops them dead in their tracks. And I'll say, have you talked to the teacher? 90% of the time, the answer is no. But yet they have flayed him on social media. They have talked to everyone within a 20-minute earshot.
Yeah.
They have called their sister from Aruba to tell their sister about how terrible this teacher is, based upon the voice of a 10-year-old. And I certainly do not believe that a 10-year-old goes home and tells a story. However, I remember being 10, and I was always going to slant that story to my benefit, because that's what a 10-year-old does.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm lying.
Yeah. And I've been that 10-year-old also,
you bet.
because I in school before, in my adolescence, and I did this to you too, I challenged the teacher also.
Bet you did.
Because I don't believe everything that you say. Like,
Just because I said it.
because you said it, doesn't make it true. And I did that to she ended up being my 3rd and 6th grade teacher. And I challenged her in 3rd grade. In my little soft young mind, I just said, I don't know that to be true. And she called my parents. I got in trouble. I got back then. They smacked you on the hand with a
Yep, I remember that. Yep,
Got that. That's
had
how
that
old
a time or two in my life. Yep.
And from that point on, though, Kathy, I had a target on my back. And in 6th grade, I ended up with her again, and I'll be honest with you, it caused some childhood trauma because I did not feel cared about or loved or listened to. So my 6th grade year of school was awful because I did not feel like she had treated me fairly. So it can go both ways.
Yeah, because I think we forget at the end of the day, teachers are humans.
Yes.
And teachers have lives, and
Yes.
teachers have pains, and teachers
And problems,
have
and-
problems,
yeah.
and they have dying parents and sick children and
All the
divorces
things.
and all the things that anyone
Yeah.
else does.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes they don't handle things well. I'll
Right.
bet you there's lots of people listening to this podcast right now. And if I ask them, have you been a perfect parent? If anyone stands up and said, yes, I'd like to meet them.
Yeah.
Because I've never met that perfect parent. There's
No.
only one perfect father.
That's right.
And his name is Jesus.
That's right.
So that's it. It's the only perfect father that there is. The rest of us are flawed, bumbling, fumbling
Yeah.
ding-dongs that are doing the best we can with each day. And I think it's so funny when we don't expect perfection out of ourselves, why we expect it because they got a teaching degree.
Yeah. And that's what I tell my kids. You just have to understand that you may not know the context to the reason why they're
That's right.
upset or what's
right.
happening. Just like you have a bad day, they have bad days too. And you get to it's not personal.
It's not about you.
It's not about
It's
you.
not always about you.
Yeah.
We've talked so much on this podcast about the ripple effect and what you say to kids and how that lasts and how those words last, both positively and negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to end on a negative. So I want you to think about things that have been spoken into your child from teachers
Yeah.
that you know.
Yes.
have made a difference?
I have a beautiful story about that. So the twins were probably 5th grade, 4th grade. And I'm in the pickup line. I'm picking the kids up, and the teacher comes to the car. I thought, oh, God.
That's never good. That is
Like,
never
oh,
good.
no.
When they
Oh,
are
no.
seeking you out, that is never good. Right.
I rolled down the window, and she said, I want you to know that both of your kids are delightful, but today I want to talk about Ethan. And I was like, okay.
Here it comes.
Yeah, I'm like,
Let's
tell
talk.
me more.
Here we go.
And she said, he is the kindest, sweetest young man. She said, there is a little boy, his name was Zach, who's in a wheelchair. And every day, Ethan takes him down to the lunchroom. He takes him to the library. He sits with him in class and helps him with his work. And I just want you to know that Zach's parents really appreciate Ethan for showing up for him. And I believe that he was okay with the way that Zach was because he had been exposed to kids who were different than him. We call them God's special children.
Amen.
Early in his life. So he wasn't afraid. And he saw him for the heart of who that child was. And he wanted to make a difference for him. And that's who Ethan is. Like, he's just such a sweet kid who would do anything for anyone. And that right there, Ethan got in the car and I shared with him what the teacher said. And he was like, well, he's just like me, Mommy. He's just
in a wheelchair.
He's just in a wheelchair. And I'm like, oh God, the innocence and the adolescence and just the love. I'm like, why can't relationships in real life be that pure, that easy, that loving and kind?
So from a parent's perspective, if you could look now, because you're speaking to lots of educators who are watching this, who think, well, yeah, Kathy mentioned it before. We can have a bad day or we can sometimes have a good day. And so thank you for the nice comments and thank you for the difficult ones. What would you say to them from a parent's perspective who sends the most precious thing in the world off to school every day? If you would get to speak into them, because you get to now, what would you say to them?
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for putting your heart and your soul into the work that you do every day, for staying in the field and doing it, because there's a lot.
It's easier to quit.
It's easier to quit.
You go make more money somewhere else.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because we work, right? Like I could be a stay-at-home mom. I tried. It wasn't for me. And you weren't born to be a teacher. I wasn't born to be a teacher. And so you guys are gifted. And I just appreciate your willingness to stick with it, even because I think it's the hardest it's ever been. I don't know that for a fact because I'm not a teacher, but from what I hear and the fact agree. And the exodus, the leaving of so many, I believe. And the lack of those coming in. I believe it's the hardest. So thank you. That's all I can say.
Oh, well, I don't have anything to add to that, so I will end on that. Thank you for coming to the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my guinea pig former student that was here. And tell us about what it is you're doing now that you're off and big and grown and on your own now. Yeah.
I wish that I'd shared this in the other podcast, Kathy, because what I come full circle, when we talked about the power of one and we talked about the impact that these teachers are making on words matter and be intentional about what you're speaking into these kids, because you have a short amount of time to do that. Small window. But you spoke a gift into me that allowed for me to know that I am a good public speaker. Went to school to be a television news anchor. Didn't like it. I remember that. I actually didn't like it. And I had this degree that I was paying for myself because I was the very first person to go to college. And come full circle, 20 some odd years later, I get to use this gift on podcasts and public speaking. So I am the chief culture officer and a partner at a company called True You that helps organizations grow their culture through the development of their people, through making sure that their organizations are scaling and growing through their number one asset, which are people. So I get to pour into people like a teacher, but different. Teachers poured into you. As teachers poured into me.
Life, I love when it comes full circle. So I love that you were able to be here and be a part of, in many ways, this podcast is a full circle for this series of Ripples. So thank you.
I could talk about you positively for a very long time, all the time, and all the different teachers that have made an impact in my life. I could.
Thank you. As we could you. So thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time.